For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the Record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees so fair. Today is Wednesday, the 19th day of April 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. Hoping we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure you observe the rules of the road. Remember, if you do so, the life you save may just be your own. I also want to remind you that this segment of the show is brought to you, the birthday shout-outs on For the Record, proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is to make the right decision for your family's future today. Also, More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture, tap into your roots. More Than Words, located on the second floor of the Thompson building. And we have one birthday shout out this morning, and birthday greetings are going out to Mr. McAllister Whitaker, who's celebrating his 75th birthday today, and birthday greetings are coming from his wife, children, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren as well. So, Mr. McAllister Whitaker, happy 75th birthday to you today. I'm dispensing with most of my opening monologue simply because we have a squeeze for time this morning, and we have some extremely important guests in the studio with us, and we know that you will be interested in hearing from them as well. So I'm going to immediately pass the mic over to Miss Danielle Coleman, who is the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands. Dani, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Thank you so much, OC, and a very good morning to all your listeners. Really, really exciting day for us here in the Cayman Islands because we have the Hurricane Hunter in. Yes. You may have seen at the airport. It's a beautiful, beautiful plane. And even more importantly, we have a full team in here from the National Hurricane Center. So for people like John and myself, it really, really is a great day to be alive. Just to sort of introduce our guests here very, very quickly, and they can probably introduce themselves a bit more about the background.
Sure.
But we have Mr. Jamie Rhome, who's the Acting Director of the National Hurricane Center to my left. Daniel Brown, Senior Hurricane Specialist and Warning Coordination. And, of course, Robbie Burke, the Hurricane Specialist. And I think that's a very exciting title, Hurricane Specialist. I'm looking forward to speaking to you more over coffee later on. And, of course, my very, very dear friend, Mr. John Tibbetts, is next to me as well. So it really is a really exciting day for us. We've got lots to talk about. But again, back to you, I think. John, over to John.
Sure, yeah, John.
No, I think I share her sentiments with regards to the excitement of having the Hurricane Hunter down here. Obviously, I'm in with my people now. These are qualified meteorologists, and we can have some interesting conversations about what the Hurricane Hunter does and the whole spectrum of weather and all kind of stuff. So it's an exciting time for us to have the Hurricane Hunter down, and I'd like to take time out to welcome the team down. There's a group of about 23 of them came down. I think it's 5 from the National Hurricane Center, and the rest are Air Force related personnel to fly the plane.
Okay, why don't we hear from Mr. Rhome?
Good morning. Thank you for having us here. It's a treat. This is my first time in Cayman, so
okay, welcome.
It's a nice. I wish I could spend more time and see your beautiful island. I get to see a little bit this morning on the drive over, but we're thrilled to be here to help the Cayman prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. This island is no stranger to hurricanes, and want to press upon you the need to be diligent and keep preparing each season as if you may be threatened directly.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so this is Robbie. I'll just say, driving over the radio station this morning, and I think all of us do this, our scientific brains get going, and we're looking at the coastline and saying, oh my gosh, what could storm surge do here? And so, yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. It's my first time here as well in the Cayman Islands. It's so far what I've seen, it's beautiful. I wish I could stay a little bit longer, but I'll just echo what Jamie said. Our mission here on this Hurricane Hunter chat, as we call it, is that we want people to be prepared. And I think bringing the plane is one way that we can do that, because people see what the plane does. We talk about what the plane does and why it's so important in helping us make a better forecast.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is Dan Brown, and I echo a lot of what Jamie and Robbie have said. I have been here once before for a meeting that we had, Hurricane Committee, which is the body that makes sure all the coordination works between the Hurricane Center and all the various countries, and also is the one that does the naming that a lot of folks wonder what names are going to get retired and replaced. I've been here on a couple of cruises as well and saw the cruise ships parked out there this morning. It was really beautiful. But again, it is all about preparedness. Unfortunately, we're only a month and a half or so away from hurricane season, so we got to start thinking about it. Now's the time to make sure your family's ready. Make sure you have those supplies and get those done before June 1st starts.
Okay. I think just very interesting, I'm talking about the cruise ships. I mean, when you're standing from one side of the island, you can see the cruise ships on the other side of the island. And I think that's why, talking about storm surge modelling and storm surge being our biggest threat is so critical. Whilst we're not going to blow the thunder out of the wind, the sails this morning, we do have some very exciting news about storm surge modelling. And the Premier will be announcing that later on today. But it is going to be very exciting, because we do worry storm surge being the biggest threat to us and being so flat. I think we're on average 7 foot above sea level. So you can appreciate the vulnerabilities that we have, in addition to being an island and away from other friends in the neighbourhood.
Okay, can we talk some more about the Hurricane Hunter itself? It being here, what will be available to the public? We know that their stay is going to be relatively short, but we want to take full advantage of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Hurricane Hunter's been here several times. I think the first mission was 55 years ago, and it's been here 4 times since. So the public would have had a chance in December to have a public walkthrough of the Hurricane Hunter. Unfortunately, this mission this time is obviously very, very short. The guys are going around the whole of the Caribbean and doing lots and lots of work, and they barely get a chance to put their feet on the ground. But today we've got lots of school children coming to visit us, both public and private. Excellent. And again, we really find that teaching kids about preparedness, whether it's hurricanes or anything else, is a great way to get their parents to get ready. I have so many of my friends who now have kids saying, "Dani, you drive us crazy," because our kids come to your presentations from hazard management and they come back and demand that a supply kit or a disaster kit is ready, and it's costing me a lot of money. I'm like, well, that's exactly what our plan is. So yeah.
Okay, John, anything you want to add?
Well, I wanted to speak a little bit about the value of the Hurricane Hunter, and I wanted to go back to our storm of a lifetime, and that's Hurricane Ivan. Now, when Hurricane Ivan went through the Cayman Islands, there was a lot of talk back and forth, the category it was, and the max winds that we had, and what have you. In reality, we only ended up with one automatic weather station down in West Bay that gave us an official wind reading, and that was about 150 miles per hour. Now, but the Hurricane Hunter now came into play, because right at the same time, and that was 10 a.m. this Sunday morning when it was at its closest point, the Hurricane Hunter was in the area, and it dropped about 36 drop zones. Now, to give you an idea what drop zones are, is Caymanians are used to seeing out at the airport the weather service releasing weather balloons. Okay, in the simplest form, the weather balloon carries an instrument up and it measures pressure, wind, temperature, and various other parameters. The dropson does the opposite. It drops a similar type instrument from the plane and collect the information on the way down. So to back up the 150 mile per hour wind reading that we got, the Hurricane Hunter at that time dropped, I believe it was about 36 dropsons in the area, and they basically couldn't find an appreciable higher wind reading than that 150 miles per hour. And so if people are looking at and asking how do we know what the strength of Hurricane Ivan was when it went through, those are the two pieces of evidence, as it were, that we use. And that data is invaluable, not just to advise us of those kind of things, but the National Hurricane Center and U.S. National Weather Service and what have you have research departments and stuff that will use that data for research in various ways.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we want to hear from the members of the National Hurricane Center. I'm sure that we do have parents who are out there in their vehicles now taking their children to school, and I'm sure that there are some very inquisitive minds wanting to know, about the Hurricane Hunter itself. So we're going to take this commercial break. When we return, we want to hear from them so that they can convey some information to our listening audience as well. So folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series. Brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Captain Charles Garfield Farrington, 1895 through 1980. Captain Charlie went to sea when he was 16. He learned navigation, and at the age of 21, he was the youngest turtling captain sailing from Tampa during the time of the wooden ships and iron men. During World War II, he was one of the men who kept those at home connected to the outside world. Following the 1932 hurricane, Captain Charlie, master of the MV Nonoka, of his own volition, carried fresh water and food to Cayman Brac, the first help to arrive. He made representations through American friends to the United States government to allow Caymanian men, once they had a job offer, to enter the United States. This arrangement benefited many families. Captain Charlie was always ready to pass on his knowledge to other aspiring seamen as long as they were attentive, willing, and hardworking. He served 2 terms as a vestryman. He and his wife, the former Miriam Amanda Hides, had 4 children. Wherever he went, he was known as an honest, frank, intelligent, unprejudiced, punctual, loyal man. The late Miss Annie Hulda Bodden called him the most honest man I know.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Every boy, every girl, every mom, every dad, every student, every teacher, the annual Rotary Central Dr. Bill Rudy Science Fair is back. Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. A universe of science, innovation, invention, experimentation, botany, medicine, robotics, engineering, and more. So much imagination, so much science. Your children, our children, the next Nikola Tesla, the next Albert Einstein, the next Stephen Jobs, the next George Washington Carver. The 16th Annual Rotary Central Science Fair, Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. Proudly sponsored by CUC, the Water Authority, Precision Industries, Foster's, DART. This event is free to the public. Rotary, all you imagine.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Ensuring your walls, ceilings, and floors are properly sealed against air leaks is an important step in lowering your monthly energy bills. Even small gaps around windows, under doors, or around lighting and plumbing fixtures can add up to as much air loss as having an open window.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
More Than Words, your gateway to local books and more. Connect to your culture. Tap into your roots. More Than Words bookstore in the Thompson Building. Supplies local books, gifts, trinkets, keepsakes, wall plaques, and journals. The hub for local authors. More Than Words. So much more. More Than Words is now open. Shop number 4, 2nd floor, Thompson Building. Or call 936-5544.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me, in addition to Mr. John Tibbetts, who's the Director General of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service, and Miss Dani Coleman, who is the Director of Hazard Management in the Cayman Islands. We also have in the studio with us Mr. Dan Brown, who's the Deputy Director of the National Hurricane Center, Mr. Jamie Rhome, who is also the Acting Director of the National Hurricane Center, and Mr. Robbie Berg. And as I promised before we went to our commercial break, that we want to talk more about the Hurricane Hunter itself. So, gentlemen, I'm going to throw the mic back over to the three of you.
Yeah, so segueing from what we're talking about in the prior segment, about the Hurricane Hunters measuring the peak winds, but that's not the only thing the aircraft measures. That's certainly the part people are most interested in. But the Hurricane Hunters provide us vital statistics about what's going on inside the storm, which prove to help the predictability of the storm rather significantly. The other aspect that people often don't know about the Hurricane Hunters is namesake implies that it only goes in when it's a hurricane, but we're finding new research is telling us that if we send the plane in when it's developing, so maybe just a area of cloudiness, disturbed weather, tropical wave, or something like that, that too helps with the predictability aspect. So it's not just the peak winds, and that's what everybody's interested in, but contrary to popular belief, the maximum sustained winds of a hurricane are not what really determines the impact to a given area. And so we really need people to stop focusing so much on the so-called Saffir-Simpson scale, and focus more on the actual impacts to an area.
Okay. One of our listeners wanted to know what are the dangers involved in when the hurricane hunter goes into the center of a hurricane.
Yeah, so they're very careful when they fly through the storm. They have radar on board so they can see what's up ahead of them. And even though we want them to fly through the eye wall to measure those strongest winds, sometimes they can see on the radar that there's an area with a really strong thunderstorm that they should not fly through that. And so they do take very strong safety precautions as they're flying through the storm to make sure that on one hand they're gathering the data that we need, but on the other hand they're remaining safe through there. There have been cases such as Ian last year where they flew through some pretty heavy turbulence, got knocked around quite a bit. So they do try to avoid that if at all possible.
I do find it absolutely extraordinary. I remember being on a plane last year, and one of the guys from the Compass said, "Thank God that Dani Coleman has management directors on the plane with us." I'm like, I'm absolutely petrified of turbulence. So I'm like, so I have so much respect for anyone flying through that, because it really is, for most of us, it's pretty terrifying. And when you get on the plane with the Hurricane Hunter, you can see how the seats are very much designed for that, and your feet are dangling almost like a roller coaster. But again, I have so much respect for all of you.
Now, in the past, some persons formed the impression that the United States focused more on hurricanes when it was a threat to the U.S. We're seeing more and more involvement now in the early stages of the hurricane. How important is the Hurricane Hunter and the National Hurricane Center to the region itself in terms of assisting us, assisting people like John in terms of their forecasting as well?
Yeah, so the National Hurricane Center, we're called a Regional Specialized Meteorological Center by the World Meteorological Organization. Essentially, it's an agreement for the Hurricane Center to provide forecasts and coordinate watches and warnings throughout the Caribbean. And so we have a meeting that was hosted here, I think in 2011, at the Cayman Islands. And we had that meeting every year, and it's to talk about what worked well and what didn't work well. What can we improve in that coordination process? This is where things like the potential tropical cyclone advisories have been discussed and come out of, where we are now able to put up those watches and warnings, but even before something forms, if it's going to impact land within 36 to 48 hours, trying to, again, get that information out to the public as soon as possible to take those actions.
Okay, we still have about 2 minutes before we go to a commercial break. John?
Just wanted to piggyback a little bit on one of the things that he said there, and that was sometimes we look out there and there's a mass of heavy thunderstorms and what have you, and everybody got their own opinion of it and what have you. So a few years ago, to support disaster management and response, mainly, I think, the Hurricane Committee and the Hurricane Center decided to started using the terminology of potential tropical cyclone. And it seems to me that more and more these days it's just popping up more regular these days as we have these systems that are fringe type systems that are coming into the area and what have you, and we know that they're not the norm, but at the same time they're not to the storm level, but at the same time we need to be able to put out storm warnings and what have you. So it has been a welcomed addition to what is to the regular operational practices. So,
okay, we're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. When we return, could we talk a little bit about climate change and how that will affect us, especially the Cayman Islands being low-lying, some of the things that we can do to prepare some of the lessons learned from previous hurricanes. Hurricane Ivan, for instance, is still etched in the minds of many Caymanians who experienced that as well. And if we can talk about some of the lessons learned, talk about data, how important data is. When you look at some of the maps, you can see how hurricanes have tracked through the Caribbean for decades. As well. So we'd like to talk a little bit about some of those things. We know we have a limited amount of time, but we're going to use as much of it as we possibly can. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation will continue, so please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 8 o'clock.
Less on everyday products is easy.
Spend less on tools and automotive products.
Good deals on groceries and meat.
Electronics, TVs, Bluetooth speakers, and more.
Spend less on home cleaning products.
At Priced Right, we believe you can live, play, and love better for less.
To start saving, visit us in the Airport Center in Georgetown or at Republic's Plaza in West Bay.
Or shop online at pricedright.ky. Live better for less at Priced Right.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Caucus has approved the vending policy created by the Public Lands Commission. And speaking on Radio Cayman's For the Record, Tourism Minister the Honorable Kenneth Bryan told listeners next up, Cabinet.
The formalities of that now has to go to Cabinet next Tuesday. Once that is agreed, then whatever the details and criteria within that policy that is outlined, vendors who want to vend there legally with an approval and all that will have to go through the Public Lands Commission to get that approval.
This past January, the Public Lands Commission issued a warning that anyone found vending from Crown properties without a valid vendor permit issued by the PLC would be in breach of the law and would face prosecution and confiscation of goods if they did not cease operations by February 1st. Last week, Minister Bryan reportedly told local media that permits under the new policy will only be made available to Caymanians who apply through the PLC and meet certain criteria. Sargassum is plaguing 7 Mile Beach. On Monday morning, the Department of Environment got a call regarding an abundance of sargassum and jellyfish at Governor's Beach. A research officer responded and found extensive mats of sargassum along several sections of 7 Mile Beach. No jellyfish were found washed up on the beach, but the DOE says it's possible they're hidden under the sargassum. With the offset of spring and as the offshore waters warm, the DOE says it isn't unusual this time of year to encounter an increased abundance of jellyfish, so they are encouraging swimmers to exercise caution in the water and keep some vinegar handy for rinsing down and neutralizing jellyfish stings. While it is uncommon for sargassum to accumulate on the western coast of the island, it is not unheard of, and the department believes as the winds shift over the next few days, Cayman should start to see the conditions return to normal and the sargassum carried back offshore. And a newly designed website has been launched by the Department of Education Services. More from Radio Cayman's Shanda Gallego.
The schoolsedu.ky website, developed by EDU365, features an events calendar, a staff directory, a comprehensive library of downloadable education forms and documentation, responses to frequently asked questions, and easy access to new school websites. According to DES Director Mark Ray, the department embarked on this project intending to refresh the look and feel of the existing website and transform it into one that is more visually appealing, easier to navigate, and more user-friendly, allowing the public greater ease to contact them and learn about what is happening in the schools. Officials report they're quite pleased with the outcome and will continue to improve their offerings to ensure services to students, teachers, and parents are delivered in the most accessible and convenient manner possible. Shanda Gallego, Radio Cayman News.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Moira Alderson.
Further armed clashes in Khartoum have prompted large numbers of residents to flee the Sudanese capital. The morning brought a new wave of explosions. Witnesses speak of large numbers of bodies in the streets. Moscow has been accused of planning to sabotage undersea power and communication cables off the coasts of Norway, Denmark and Sweden. A new documentary alleges Russian ships have been carrying out work in the region disguised as fishing trawlers. A leading critic of President Putin has had an appeal against his jail sentence rejected. Ilya Yashin was sentenced to more than 8 years in a penal colony for a broadcast about the Bucha massacre. The first US Patriot missile battery has arrived in Ukraine. Kyiv said this marked a significant improvement in its defences against Russian aircraft. The 80th anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising is being marked in the Polish capital. The German president, who began his speech in Yiddish, the now almost lost language of Europe's Jews, said Berlin still needed to ask for forgiveness for the crimes his country had committed. India is expected to overtake China as the world's most populous country in the coming months, with 1.4 billion inhabitants. Chinese birth rates have been sinking, and last year its population shrank for the first time in more than 60 years. Iran's supreme leader has ruled out the idea of a referendum on state policies. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was meeting with university students. These were at the forefront of recent anti-government protests. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Boddentown, email rx-bt at valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store, or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Every boy, every girl, every mom, every dad, every student, every teacher, every scholarship provider. The annual Rotary Central Bill Rudy Science Fair is back. Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. A universe of science, invention, innovation, experimentation, botany, medicine, robotics, engineering. So much imagination, so much science. Your children, our children. The next Nikola Tesla, the next Albert Einstein, the next Stephen Jobs, budding climate scientists, maritime scientists, engineers, biomedical engineers. Hear them talk, see them show you how. The 16th Annual Rotary Central Science Fair, Saturday, April 22nd at the Ark Recreation Center, Camana Bay. This event is free to the public. Rotary, all that you can imagine.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 81%. The barometric pressure is 29.93 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 6 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicates some isolated showers along with light northeasterly winds and light seas are expected across the Cayman area as the tail end of a cold front lingers across the Cayman Islands. The forecast for today calling for partly cloudy skies with cloudy spells and a 30% chance of morning showers, and temperatures today will be in the mid-80s. Winds will be east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. Pretty much the same for tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures dipping to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be north to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet for tonight as well. Today's high tide will be this morning at 8:37, low tide this afternoon at 5 minutes past 3, and a high tide again tonight at 9:39. The sun will set this evening at 6:43 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5 minutes past 6. And the outlook is calling for morning showers along with light winds and slight seas expected for the next 3 days. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Brit-K, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving our goals is rewarding, but at times can feel frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, look at the big picture. What is most important to you? When you are successful, how will your life be different? These questions can help you define what success means to you. Are you dreaming of owning your own business, getting a significant promotion, or running a marathon? These values will guide the goals you set for your future life. Being able to envision your values in action will make them feel real and near.
Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look this time at traffic. Traffic is busy coming off of the Esley Tibbetts Highway and also coming from the Industrial Park area towards the Butterfield Roundabout. Slight delays expected. Traffic steady but flowing on North Sound Road in both directions as we turn our eyes to Edward Street, downtown Georgetown, moving along moderately, as well as on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue. And busy traffic on the Linford Pearson Highway. Traffic is also heavy coming to town on Crew Road, and eastbound traffic on Crew Road is moving on moderately. And from the Westway four-way stop, traffic is flowing at a good pace. On the Westway Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. And coming off of Bobby Thompson, with a steady traffic, and traffic busy coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way, slight delays expected. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. And remember, click it or tick it.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today. Doing a kitchen renovation? At Granite Express Cayman, we can help you with fresh new kitchen cabinets and countertops in less than 4 weeks. When designing your dream kitchen, it's important to balance timeless features that reflect your personality and design aesthetic. Granite Express Cayman is offering a great package rate for custom-built cabinets, kitchen respray, and kitchen countertops with granite and quartz stone. Call 922-0424 for a free estimate. Granite Express Cayman. Friendly service and fast installation. Hurry! Offers valid while supplies last. Visit graniteexpresscayman.com.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you're going to invest in an exotic pet, choose anything but a Norwegian forest cat. Apparently, they will eat all your jewelry. Before you know it, you're racing to the vet when your cat escapes from his carrier and lunges for your earrings. You crash and your cat swallows your pearls. But if you're smart, you'll have CG Motor Insurance and get the best comprehensive coverage for the price.
Get the best comprehensive coverage for the price. CG Britke. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me, in addition to Miss Dani Coleman, who's the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman Islands, and Mr. John Tibbetts, the Director General of the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. We have in the studio with us Mr. Jamie Rhome, who's the Acting Director of the National Hurricane Center, Mr. Dan Brown, the Deputy Director, National Hurricane Center, and Mr. Robbie Berg. So, gentlemen, lady and gentlemen. So I want to talk a little bit about climate change. Is climate change real? You know, there are still doubters out there as well. I want to talk a little bit about that. Remember, when you get the mic, if there's something else you want to interject into the conversation, please go ahead and do so as well. And we also want to talk about the importance of the relationship between our entities here in the Cayman Islands, like Hazard Management Cayman and the Cayman Islands National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center, how important that relationship is as well. So, folks, the mic is yours.
Yeah, so I'll take the first cut at it. Absolutely, climate change is happening, and in what short amount of time we've been on the island, I mean, you can already see it manifesting itself here on Cayman Islands in the form of rising sea levels and its impact on nearshore properties. You can go home and debate over your favorite adult beverage, what's causing it, but it's absolutely happening. Absolutely happening. That's an undisputed scientific fact. But we can help dispel like some of the rumors, I think, and myths. There's a lot of misinformation, like with everything in life, about this. And since we're here on behalf of hurricanes, there's often a notion that there's going to be a dramatic increase in hurricanes associated with climate change. And the science just doesn't bear that out. It looks like we're going to have about roughly the same number of hurricanes as time marches on, but their impacts are going to be worse. And again, you can walk along 7 Mile Beach here to see that your vulnerability to storm surge is significantly worse now. So the same storms with the same intensities are going to hit harder. There's also a body of evidence that the storms may produce more rainfall. A warmer climate can hold more moisture, you get more rainfall. And on a small island like this, that water availability, too much water at one moment, too little water at the next moment, is a big outcome of climate change.
Okay, Dan?
I don't have too much to add to that, but I could go to our relationship with
Sure.
with the local islands, and the fact that the Hurricane Center, we host a workshop every year where we have some of the folks come up from the Cayman Islands and other Caribbean offices, and just that coordination works so well between what we do. I'm in constant contact with John whenever there's a hurricane threatening, and we're talking about the need for do we need tropical storm hurricane watches and warnings, talking about the forecast and how that might play out. And again, the Hurricane Center, we're looking at really the big picture, and then it's the local National Met Services across the Caribbean that are then refining that forecast, talking about what those impacts might be. And John, you can probably speak more on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. Is this kind of a pass around? All right. Well, first of all, let me tackle the relationship between the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service. All of our weather forecasters have gone to the workshop at the National Hurricane Center, which they run for the region. So sometimes the seats going there are at a premium, I guess. But additionally, there are 2 members of the staff that have, and myself and my chief meteorologist, has actually gone there and spent an entire month there separate from the workshop, which is rather fascinating because the building and the complex that they work in, I think you've got the regional forecast office there and the regional aviation office there and stuff like that. So when we go there, we get to see a spectrum of things that we get that we don't normally see. All right, and it's fascinating for the meteorological scientific mind and what have you. Additionally, with regards to that, obviously we're part of the Regional Hurricane Committee as part of the British Caribbean territories and stuff like that. So we're constantly hearing about what is going on at the Hurricane Center. Our director of the Hurricane Center stands as the chairman. I think that's the position called, of the Hurricane Committee.
Okay.
So, in terms of climate change, I've always looked at climate change in 2 different perspectives. When you ask me about climate change as a meteorologist, I first look at it and say, is my temperatures increasing? Okay, and we've got absolute evidence of that to prove that that is going on. However, nowadays, climate change has also tended to mean, when you hear climate change, you also starting to talk about man's impact. And that's a little bit of a different game, as it were, for me. Is man impacting the environment? Absolutely. Okay. In terms of climate change in the Cayman Islands, there was a climate change project run around 2010, 2011 time frame. And it was run in collaboration with the Department of Environment, Ms. Gina Petrie and her team. And at the same time, the Regional Climate Change Office that is in Belize actually came here, and they were working with our data and to provide the outputs and stuff like that to support the climate change project. Okay. And how it was done, I can tell you absolutely and unequivocally, the evidence was absolutely there to show that our temperatures was increasing, and at that time our rainfall levels were decreasing. That's a little bit different from hurricanes. That's more of a larger scale type view and involves all the weather systems of the year and all that kind of stuff. So. In terms of climate change and all that kind of stuff as well too, is that I've always looked at it, and from my own experience and stuff like that, the Northwest Caribbean has a reputation for having a significant amount of those Category 5 hurricanes. So to have remain unscathed relatively all these years is sometimes like what my Mr. Sambuli used to say. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to put the gentleman from the National Hurricane Center. I'm going to put you on the spot for a minute, just to say, I'm not sure how long your tenure has been, with your organization, but based on your interactions with the Cayman Islands, based on your observations, can you speak to whether or not we have advanced in terms of our preparedness and in terms of our ability to forecast and everything? Can you speak to that for us?
I'll take a quick stab at it and hand it over to Dan, who's got a bit more experience. I mean, certainly one of the most progressive partners that we have in terms of communicating needs and desires and where there are gaps and areas of improvements. And that's really necessary to sort of voice what you need to help improve. So from that perspective, yes, probably one of the most engaging countries within the region with respect to working with the Hurricane Center to advance overall within the region and to let us know what you specifically need here in the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if you want to talk, Robbie, about the forecast improvement, and then maybe I could talk about some of the products that we've.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the hurricane, there's really three types of the forecast that we're making. It's how strong is the storm going to be, where it's moving, and how big is it going to be. And I think through the years, we've been saying our track forecasting gets better and better every year. So when we say the forecast is going to go here, it's getting close to here. The intensity for many years, we weren't making improvements. It was kind of flatlined. But just in the past decade, we've really started to see these improvements in being able to accurately predict how strong a storm may be. Specifically in what's called rapid intensification. So as a storm essentially ramps up very quickly. And we've been getting better and better and more accurately predicting those types of cases. And I was going to fold it back to climate change. I think with climate change, we are seeing more cases of rapid intensification. So that kind of decreases the amount of lead time we have to prepare for these storms in some cases. It's not going to be watching a storm march across the Atlantic Ocean for days. It could be something forming and rapidly intensifying right on our doorsteps.
Can I just add to that really, really quickly? I agree with you 100%. As Jamie said, it's not necessarily the number of storms, it's rapid intensification we're seeing much more. I think we saw that quite a lot last year. You kind of go to bed one day and the next morning, like, oh, wait a second, didn't expect that. And I think that's why it's so critical that the public, we prepare for that. We always have to prepare for the worst. I think in the National Emergency Operations Centre in the last couple of years, we've been activating to err on the side of caution because we know fine well it could change very, very quickly. And that, one, helps us, practice what we train for, but also, it's just a really good way to get into it. If something does change very dramatically overnight, we're all ready to go. And I think that's really been a big improvement from our side.
And this is probably the most important message we can bring to you today. There's this notion out there that we can watch these things come off of Africa and slowly lumber their way, and you have days and days and days to watch it and decide if you're going to prepare. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. That is not the case with the biggest storms. The Cat 4s and Cat 5s, they're what we call dynamically, they're fragile. They can't hold on to that intensity for very long. So in order to be hit by the strongest hurricanes, it has to develop on your doorstep. And think about it. If one of these systems rapidly develops, everybody's going to rush to the market, to the hardware store, and you're not going to be able to get anything done. The lines, the roads are going to be packed. And this is where communities are getting hit hard. They're not preparing ahead of time. Right now, April, May, and a storm develops on their doorsteps and they don't have time to get ready.
Okay, I have two quick questions before we close off. One caller wanted to know about the El Nino effect, if you could speak to that. And another one was curious about modeling, European modeling and U.S. modeling. And their question is, how can the Europeans stay all the way over in Europe and model for the Caribbean. If you could explain that, we would be.
I'll take the modeling
happy.
one if you take the El Nino.
Sure.
There's been, due to internet, there's way too much emphasis on models.
Okay.
And the models that people are seeing on the internet are nothing like what we look at internally at the Hurricane Center. And there's been this storyline of the European model versus the U.S. model, and that's totally overbaked. The modeling centers work closely. We share technology information. When one figures something out, we put it in the other. Great collaborative. So there's no such thing as the models competing against each other and that sort of thing. And the forecasters don't just look at one model and say, oh, today I'm going to go with the European model. They blend them together in this very sophisticated manner, which sort of takes the pros and cons of each. That's where their human expertise comes into play. And actually, and this is a tidbit here, the human-generated forecast by the National Hurricane Center beat every single model out there on average, including the European and the U.S. models. So you put the internet down from a perspective of looking at models and follow the information from the National Hurricane Center as well as the Cayman Meteorological Office.
Okay.
I think that's, again, very quick plug. Official sources are so critical, and not looking at, don't believe everything you read on the internet unless it's an official source.
Yep.
Yeah. So talking about the El Nino, La Nina for a second, it does have influence on what the seasonal forecast is going to be, how many storms could form. When we have La Nina conditions, cooler waters out in the Pacific tend to have less wind shear over the Atlantic, more storms can form. El Nino, it's opposite, so it's warmer waters in the Pacific, but more wind shear across the Atlantic. It's still pretty early to look ahead for this year, and NOAA will put out its seasonal forecast in May. Some of the climate models, which are different than the ones he was talking about, suggest we could be heading to El Nino conditions, and there's some evidence of that. But again, we're several months out. We'll kind of see how it plays out. But the message is it only takes one. You go back to 1992. We had Hurricane Andrew in South Florida, Category 5. It was an El Nino year. Only just a few hurricanes that season, but one of them was Andrew and was very impactful for us. So, when you hear the seasonal forecast, just know the season's fast approaching. Make those preparations. Don't worry too much about the numbers.
Robbie, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, NOAA actually last week just issued a El Nino watch, as they call it, which means that conditions are right for El Nino to form. But I'll just echo what Dan said. The numbers don't really matter. You can have one storm, and if that storm hits your house, it's a bad season for you.
Okay, Dani, I'm going to give you an opportunity for some closing comments and remind our listening and viewing audience, the general public, about what's going on.
Again, just a really exciting day for us here in the Cayman Islands, for having a hurricane hunter in and having these experts in to hang out with us. John and I are real geeks when it comes to this, and of course, hang out with the wisdom that's around the table, let alone on the hurricane hunter, is really, really very exciting. Just making sure everyone is prepared, as the boys have said. It does take one storm or any other emergency, and making sure that you are prepared for everything. The UN Sendai framework of disaster risk reduction lists risk analysis as one of the top priorities, or the top priority. And again, I think that's the work that's happening right now is going to be very, very exciting for the Cayman Islands, which the Premier will announce later on today. But again, just be ready for the season. We're here to help. Hazard Management are very, very happy to come and talk to you about general preparedness, business continuity, both in schools, businesses, and whatever else. So please do give us a shout.
Okay, and we look forward to having you back on for the record more often as we get closer to the hurricane season.
Hopefully not too much.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone. I've learned a lot myself this morning, as well. So thank you all the best. Enjoy your visit, and our apologies that you can't enjoy the beach at the specific hotel location that you're at. I would say more of that. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have members of the opposition in the person of the leader of the opposition, Honorable Roy McTaggart, and his deputy, Mr. Joey Hugh, in the studio with us. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after this short commercial break.
I tell you what, I need to find a way to bring my electricity costs down. I don't want to see another high bill next month.
Have you tried doing an energy audit?
A what?
An energy audit. The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Oh yeah? I'm going to log on to that website right now. What was it again?
Visit energy.gov.ky to download do-it-yourself energy audits for your home or business. There is even a fun activity guide for kids.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costylest, and Foster's.
Visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay.
No one can stop me when I taste the feel.
Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station. Your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
System 1 loaded. 1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I hope that our listening and viewing audience were able to glean lots of information from our previous guests in the studio, the representatives from the National Hurricane Center, as well as Mr. John Tibbetts, the Director General of the Cayman Islands Weather Service, and Ms. Dani Coleman, who's the Director of Hazard Management, Cayman as well. So we dealt with one type of storm, a hurricane or storm. We're going to deal with another one now, the political hurricane or the political storm in the Cayman Islands. That conversation is going to take place with the leader of the opposition, Honorable Roy McTaggart, and Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It's been quite a while, but it's good to have you back.
And it's good to be back, OC, and I thank you for hosting us again this morning. And yeah, interesting time, so look forward to some good discussion from now until 10. And
yeah, happy to be back again. As you said, it was a little bit of a break. It was just something was always coming up, the holidays in between there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, happy to be back, and certainly hoping that perhaps this morning we can maybe try and bring some forecast and calm to the storm. but yeah, no, great to be back, and a pleasant good morning to everyone out there. I think everybody, the news this morning, everyone is excited that we've managed to get a little bit of rain certainly across the 3 islands over the last couple of days, and much needed rain, and all of us backyard gardeners are celebrating. And but yeah, just a pleasant good morning to everyone, and hope everybody has a pleasant and safe day.
Okay, lots of things going to be happening as well. I think the new governor comes this week as well, and then Parliament resumes next week also. During the course of your conversation, I tried to mention it on Monday, but time didn't allow to talk about the strategic policy statement and what it involves, what it entails, as well. And while you may not have any experience in terms of dealing with a cabinet or government that is formed mainly of independents, whether or not, if you have a political party as opposed to a collective of independents, how will that affect the preparation of a strategic policy statement? Whereas, you're getting the party's collective views and ideas as opposed to having to satisfy each individual's needs as well. If at some point in time you could talk about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it at the appropriate time.
So, gentlemen, the mic is yours.
Okay, well, you mentioned a number of things there. We can just take them one at a time if we could. And,
sure.
And we'll see. And, briefly just to mention that, yes, Her Excellency, Governor-designate, Ms. Jane Owen, arrives on the island on Friday morning. I think she gets in on the flight on Cayman Airways flight from Miami on Friday morning. And then it's sort of a whirlwind afternoon for her as well, because she then is sworn in. The ceremony starts at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon at Parliament, and open to the public to come and witness and to be a part of those proceedings. So yes, that will take place on Friday afternoon, and then the Premier, I know, is hosting a dinner on Saturday evening at the Pedro St. James to welcome her, and then we. It doesn't affect her in any real way, but I think that will be the welcoming, for her for this weekend here, and then next week Wednesday, yes, we are going back. We are going into the House to I think primarily deal with the SPS statement that should be dealt with on next week as well. Although I do know that there are several bills that should also be on the agenda. We haven't yet had the business committee meeting, so it's kind of difficult to say what's actually they all have on there. But we have also submitted a number of questions to be asked, and there'll be, I think we've got two private members' motions. They haven't yet gone in because today is actually the deadline for the submission of those, and so that has to be will take place, and they will be filed, and there will be the usual tabling of papers and reports and all that stuff as well.
Now the bills those that require what is it 21 days advance notification, all of that has been complied with as well?
To my knowledge, yes. I think what I have is either 7 or 8 what I call green bills. There are a vast majority of them are simple amendments to a lot of the financial services legislation, and they are minor in that it is just dealing with one specific matter, and that is to amend the legislation to allow to bring in partnerships, limited partnerships, under the scope of the administrative fine system. I think I've got to go back and research it, but it is not very significant. It's very specific, and there are about 7 pieces of legislation that require this, and all have the same all the same amendments to it. So that will be very easy to, I think, to deal with. That nothing controversial there from our
and
perspective.
This is possibly to bring us in compliance with our international obligation?
I believe that's what would be driving it, and potentially to close what may have been perceived as a bit of a loophole in that they hadn't been scoped in. And so that is my impression.
Yeah, I think there was one late one that came in, amendments to the proceeds of
crime bill, I believe. Yeah.
Yes,
I haven't looked at that one yet.
Yeah,
and then
that just, I think that is one of the again, perhaps to strengthen that law around money laundering and the proceeds from money laundering and government's ability to seize those funds, etc. So, and I think that probably was or is in. Seemed to me from reading it may have been in conjunction with the earlier amendments on the gambling law that the Select Committee Committee of the Whole House, in fact, has been appointed on. But this seems to take it a bit further in dealing with the proceeds from gambling, etc., and being able to go after those who are most benefiting from illegal activity.
Okay, so we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, if we can stay along these lines, sometime last week, possibly, someone in lauding the minister with responsibility for financial services spoke about the fact that we're almost there in terms of coming off any grey list or anything. We're so close, and that we're going to be ahead of ourselves soon. I'm not sure whether or not you're privy to any information in relation to that, or whether or not these amendments to specific bills will get us any closer to being off any grey list that may be established as well. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, and Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh, will continue, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center.
Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. Gentlemen, Mike is over to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, OC. We're talking, I think, of about the agenda for next week on there. In terms of the bill, there is one other bill, substantive bill, I should say, that I believe will be on the agenda, and that is the bill to convert the Tourism Attraction Board into an authority. So that seems to be, the real piece of substantive or new legislation that is coming forward in the House next week. And they are taking steps now to convert that into an authority. And probably a step in the right direction for them. I do believe that is probably the right way to go with that entity. And so I'm still working through the meat of that legislation to understand it and what it is. But it seems very much to follow other legislation for other authorities, similar in many ways in terms of it. So that I do know should be on the agenda as well.
And anything in relation to the proposed referenda that was talked about too?
No, I
go ahead.
No, not at all. I would suppose that will come up as part of the SPS.
Okay.
But we did expect some legislation towards that, but I don't recall seeing anything.
Nothing has been exposed as far as we are aware of, certainly.
We're all waiting until tomorrow night for the big announcements, which we all find very strange that here we are on the midterm, 2 years halfway through their term. If you've ever been involved in politics, you know that it's more than halfway through because you're once you get into the last 6 months of your term, things start to change. If you are favorable, people will work hard to get your things achieved. If you're not favorable, things slow right down and everybody just sits and waits on the new government, whoever they may be. And so, I think it is surprising that we have not heard anything really of substance from the government. There's been no real hurrah or no press releases. I mean, the only thing we've heard was a Chamber of Commerce luncheon or AGM, I think, where the Premier actually said, they're having a hard look at their goals because they have not, basically they hadn't quite achieved what they wanted to over the first 2 years, I would say. That's an understatement. But we were really looking forward to hearing their midterm report and getting a glimpse of this of the strategic policy statement. But as far as we know now, it's tomorrow night at a constituency meeting for the Honourable Kenneth Bryan for Georgetown Central. That apparently that is now evolving into a full midterm report by the government, and lots of exciting things will be revealed there. I guess as we can all just look forward to that, and I do hope, it has been a turbulent 2 years for the government. I think we can all agree without playing politics that very little has been done. And so I do hope to hear some exciting things, and I do hope to get some updates on some of the major issues that we're facing here, from traffic to the landfill to cost of living, housing, things that we have been discussing for the last 2 years, continuing to push. We've brought private member motions that have been passed, and yet nothing has been done. And I don't know if that's budget restrictions or what the case is. There's a lot of rumors flying around about that. But we're all looking forward to it. And you alluded to earlier, when you opened the show about the SBS. And that is, that's a broad overview of the government's long-term policies. And that is used to hold the government accountable. When you have a government that's a party, like you said, and there's a manifesto and a published plan, then that's fairly easy to do. You can follow that by your fingers. In this case, as you said, we all had to wait until SPS in their first year to get an idea of what their plans were, and now this should be really an update on the progress of those plans and how they intend to spend the country's money, the people's money, for the next 2 years. And so initially, this is the foundation of the budget, because this is where we hold the government responsible for implementing their policies and for the spending of the people's money. So we are looking forward to that. It is going to be interesting because we just saw the departure of the Minister of Finance. This is the person that actually heads up the strategic policy statement and the budget overall. We know in the best of times as a cohesive government that these times can be challenging. And there's, everybody wants to achieve everything and everybody wants their perfect budget. And that just isn't the way to go. You have to show some discipline, some restraint, and fiscal responsibility. And so we know that these can be very difficult times, very challenging. And there's a lot of work, as a former Minister of Finance can tell you, a lot of pressure and a lot of work by that ministry. And I just found it, it had to be a challenge, and perhaps the Honourable Leader could expand on that. But it had to be a challenge having your Minister of Finance depart office just weeks before your SPS. But again, we are waiting. I personally, I'm just waiting to hear what their plans are to really get a better idea of whether or not they'll be able to achieve some of these goals, especially some of the loftier ones they had. And in particular, for me, as pressure continues to mount on our constituency offices, as we continue to see people struggling out there, I really want to hear what progress are we making on these major issues. We still have not heard anything about the government plans to deal with rising costs of insurance, interest rates, what seems to be and continues to be a looming recession. And we see in the UK, the numbers are coming out. We see the UK government making plans and putting programs in place to deal with it. We see the US sign some major bills this week, President Biden, to deal with it. We're still waiting to hear what the plans are from our own government to counter this looming recession and the continued increase in interest rates, home insurances, etc., cost of living in particular. So yeah, I'm being hopeful, and I'm eager to hear what the government plans are.
Yeah, and to take that just a step further too, I think we need to remind the public too, as well, OC, that this will be an election budget.
Yes.
Because this is their final budget, of their term, and so I fully expect that we will see a lot of, how I put it, funding for projects that to take place before the or in the months and the year leading up to the elections. So it is going to be an interesting session of the House, and I think a good portion of it certainly is going to be devoted to that SPS and what's in it, and yeah, so we're looking forward to it and to being able to debate it and to make a contribution to our contribution to it as well in the House.
We've seen the announcement report that the government's revenues were over $1 billion, and as a result of that, a surplus of $47 million as well. What if, as a former Minister of Finance, what does that mean? How flexible does a surplus make you? How flexible does that, how much flexibility does that give you in terms of your ability to do more than you may have expected in the first place?
Well, it does give you some flexibility, because it means that you are, what it boils down to is that the government performed, better than expected. Now, historically, OC, I think, government has always been conservative in their projections of revenue, estimates of revenue, because I think in the past they have had, occasions where they were too optimistic and did not realize them, and had to really, that created a problem for them in terms of the spending. I think interestingly, and I think what was, even more concerning to me, yes, they did exceed in terms of their revenue collected for the first time in history. Over $1 billion CI dollars was collected in revenue, but government spending increased quite substantially as well. I want to say for government alone, it was another $50 million on top of what was there, and as well. So there's quite a bit of an increase in spending, and in terms of the detail there that was released, I'm not sure that it fully accounted for what the 50 additional spending was. I use a figure of 50 million, but I may be wrong there as well. But because the spending has increased quite substantially as well.
And the one thing, OC, I think, is that this surplus, depending on the details, may be helpful in the creation of the budget for next year. But I think what we're going to be seeing, and some of the things that we questioned during the several finance committees last year and the movement of funds, quite often the answer was that they were COVID related, but I think we can move on from that now. But I have to wonder whether or not, and it'll be interesting to see what's being proposed here, and certainly in November, but I have a feeling that perhaps we will see a lot more coming to us in Finance Committee of movement of funds, because some large capital projects have not even begun, and some have stalled.
And they were budgeted for.
And they were budgeted for, and some have stalled.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health facility is one that I can think about. But then we also see large capital expenditures in some road works, in parks in Northside, parks in Central, land purchases for parks in spots. So, it's going to be interesting how the remainder, the last 8 months of this year goes, as far as government funding is concerned.
We're going to go to headline news. When we return, one of our listeners wanted to know, please ask what's your position on Mr. Bush's motion to build the road Newlands to Bordentown without environmental impact assessment being done. Folks, top of the hour headline news. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Cabinet was expected to hear a new public vending policy when they met on Tuesday. This after caucus recently approved the vending policy created by the Public Lands Commission. Last week, the tourism minister said permits under the new policy would only be made available to Caymanians who apply through the Public Lands Commission and meet certain criteria. Fox News has settled a defamation lawsuit from the voting machine company Dominion over its reporting of the 2020 presidential election. In a last-minute settlement, the network agreed to pay $787.5 million, about half of the $1.6 billion initially sought by Dominion. Dominion argued its business was harmed by Fox spreading false claims the vote had been rigged against Donald Trump. The deal spares Fox executives such as Rupert Murdoch from having to testify at trial. And Russia has a program to sabotage wind farms and communication cables in the North Sea, according to new allegations. The details come from a joint investigation by public broadcasters in Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. It says Russia has a fleet of vessels disguised as fishing trawlers and research vessels in the North Sea. They carry underwater surveillance equipment and are mapping key sites for possible sabotage. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
When you have a sports or fitness-related injury, trust the expertise of the HSA Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic to get you back in the game. Our internationally trained and certified physicians specialize in sports traumatology, sports medicine, pain management, and orthopedic surgery. For treatment of common injuries such as tendonitis, arthritis, tennis elbow, rotator cuff, or knee tears, schedule a consultation with the Sports and Exercise Medicine Clinic at Smith Road Medical Center by calling 949-8600 or visit hsa.ky for more information.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the Record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joe Hugh. So, gentlemen, this person wanted to know your position on the motion to build a road, Newlands to Bordentown without a study. Now, when this was first raised, the argument that was being put forward at that time by the first person who was going to move it at that time, and he then became a minister, was that since the road had been gazetted well in advance, when
then Minister Arden McLean,
yes,
who has I must say has continued to maintain that he had cleared that land, that it had all been cleared once before, so it's not pristine. Is his argument. But you know, when I did take a tour in the helicopter, you actually can see the difference. You can actually see the corridor pretty clearly, and a difference in topography that somebody had actually been through already.
And when you're at the Newlands Junction there, you can see it so clearly as well.
The Newlands Junction, we had already gotten approval to take that up to
Woodland Drive.
That's already all been, I don't know how come they haven't finished that, but that was all compacted and filled. We had made it up that far, just about up that far. So that was, we thought at the time, and all indications told us that if we had a connected Woodland Drive, that would allow some, and with some modifications of the junction. So perhaps that's what's holding up the opening of, or the completion of that first little leg, is the modification of the Hearst Road junction. But that, we got approval before I demitted office from DOE to just continue with that. And we had just about finished all that.
But now, what about the argument that this extension had been gazetted prior to the requirement for an environmental impact assessment to be done? Does that argument hold water?
This is my personal view on this, and certainly, first of all, as a government, we supported the extension of the East-West Arterial. We pushed on it. We worked hard at it. We continue to support that. My personal view on that on that is just like the landfill. If the EIA comes back for whatever reasons, because of habitat or species, and says you can't put the road here, where do we put it? If it comes back and says that on the landfill, that we can't put the integrated solid waste management system there, then we just continue to landfill it? Or where do we go? What do we do? They're not going to come back with recommendations on where to put it, or what system should we use. So that's my first concern. And the other, but my personal view is, OC, and what we were advocating for and trying to negotiate with the DOE, is that at a minimum, they do need the hydrologic survey done, at a minimum. And in saying that, going back to my first point, that for me is key. And I think if they had just narrowed the EIA down to the hydrologic study, so that they knew where the flow of the water would go, where to put in the whether they needed reservoirs or the culverts, that is certainly for the surrounding area a necessity. But a full EIA, I find that difficult, because again, if it comes back and if you go through and say, okay, listen, we need to move a few plants or go around this particular habitat. I don't know if you need a full EIA to say that, but if the EIA comes back saying do not build this road, what are you going to do then? I mean, we are certainly I don't see this government making any meaningful changes to public transportation or any form of mass public transportation within the next 2 years, 12 to 14 months. I just don't see it. So we're 4, 6, 8 years away from any major changes into the movement of people. So what do we do in the interim? We always knew that this extension of the East-West Arterial Highway and the works that started under our term and have since been completed, except for the Linford-Pearson Highway, we always knew that these were not the long-term fix. These were things we needed to do now to provide some relief to our people. And in interim, then we would be working on other programs. But as I said, 2 more years have gone by. We have nothing substantial other than road works. And I don't see it happening in the next 2 years either. So how do we provide relief to our people?
The one thing I just would just mention, OC, is that within the East-West Arterial that exists here now, they are doing quite a bit of work. It looks like they're adding the second lane each way.
Right. Yeah. Again,
from Hurst Road all the way down now to the roundabout there by Poindexter.
And that is in preparation for the extension. Because that really doesn't help the Boddentown bottleneck.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't.
So all these things are just in preparation for the extension. It will speed it up a little bit, but again, not even OC have we seen. We brought a private member's motion on the restriction of vehicles and other measures to reduce traffic, and it was dismissed. The minister simply said, dismiss this. He said, oh, you must have spies in my ministry, because these are the things we're talking about. In fact, we're going to do even better. This is rubbish. That was over a year ago?
No, that was back in December. It was November, December that I brought the motion. But he promised us that we would have their plan and their policy with regard to roads in January. And look where we are, another 3 months later, and we just haven't seen or heard anything as to what their intention is with regard to it. Perhaps maybe they're saving it for Thursday night. I don't know.
Now you mentioned the 2 additional lanes, and I was having a discussion with someone over the fact that when the East-West Arterial was built, I think that would have been somewhere around 2016? Or was it before that?
Long before that.
Long before that?
What's that?
The East-West Arterial.
It was if it was under Arden, then that was from.
That's what I thought would have been
2008 around there. Yes.
2005 to 2009 administration.
Now, that was, excellent foresight on the part of the minister then in terms of the preparation. But if even more preparation had been done at that point in time, then it would have made what we're doing now less expensive, because we would have been spending 2008 or 2007's money as opposed to spending more expensive money today, as well.
Absolutely. And just to say, OC, that I don't think anyone anticipated the sort of growth and the rapid, nobody we didn't see this
unplanned growth.
Well, not only the unplanned growth. I mean, we always knew there'd be a bit of growth, but in particular the traffic, the whole advent of the Japanese cars and the ability for someone to find $1,500 and get a car. We didn't anticipate that. And politics has always gotten in the way of public transport. And so it's just a series of lack of preparation, as you said, lack of foresight, but also, I don't think we could have even anticipated it, because when the technocrats, let's look at the license plates. When we were doing the electronic plates, they sat and looked and projected and gave a growth projection, and we needed so many plates. those plates that we ordered for a year lasted about 2 months. We had 4,000, we had 4,000 more than anticipated vehicles imported within that quarter. So it was, even the best projections, even if we were a little short, but we were way short on the projections of how many vehicles we would have on our road. And so, this is where we are, but I think, it's things started during our administration. We did our best to point the government in the direction that we were going. It's the same civil servants, so they should have all of the information. And here we are 2 years later, and we're no closer. These are the things that are concerning, and that's why I'm saying I am being hopeful and anticipating, and in anticipation that we will hear some good news, some solid news, some real plans. Maybe tomorrow night. I don't know when, but and not just plans, but actually start to see some action. But I have my concerns about whether or not. I guess they could move some of the funds from these from some of these other projects that they had proposed, move those around and fund some of these more critical issues that the country is facing.
Because based on the SPS and the budget, those funds are available up until when?
December 31st.
Of this year?
Yes. Yeah.
They have to be used by then, or earmarked?
No, they have to be used, and otherwise the appropriation expires.
And then a new budget comes in.
Okay, let's take
the cost or the commitment has to have been made incurred prior to December 31st.
Got you. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones it's free.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our Custom Closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. One caller and whole. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, and good morning to your panel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. O'Shea, we're going to start. I'm going to start somewhere, okay? And I'm going myself in. Mr. Hugh, are you in charge of the party area, not south?
In charge of the where?
Sparky Road, all the way back by
Sparky Road, yes, yes.
Is that your
That's
area?
my constituency, yes.
Yeah. Have you been down there lately?
Yes, ma'am. Last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, I was down there about less than 2 weeks ago too. So down there really needs some organizing because it is really becoming an eyesore to go down in there to do business. Even though there's warehouses down there and so forth, garage, so forth.
Yeah, you're talking about the derelict vehicles on the side of the road.
Yes.
Yeah, and construction materials.
Yes, and including the warehouses that got business there, they're piling up their means. What do you call it again now? When you cut their material up now, what do you call that again now? What do we call that?
Scraps, yeah.
The scraps, exactly. So
Yeah.
down there really need some looking into, and they're racing around like they're on some highway in Miami or New York or wherever. But anyhow, the roads are not, the main road is not even marked to tell you that it's a dividing road. You got to, anybody with common sense know that you got to one on the left, one is on the right. But what I see down there just the other day, it was unbelievable. Everybody was doing their own thing.
Yeah, it is a bit of a free-for-all. We had cleaned it up a couple of years ago. The one particular garage, we actually enforced on them, and then they moved, relocated right in the same area. And I noticed the other day that they have overflowed onto the streets again.
I was trying to find a business down there, and it was right by the garage apartment, but all they had was a sign and there was a fencing. And it's a good thing I drive into the fencing yard that I'm going to purchase these things from. And this guy came out of nowhere in a car, and he just made a 360-degree turnaround. If that was on that main road like that, that guy would have killed me. Undespicable. But anyhow, I want to know if you or Mr. McTaggart could answer this question for me. I can hang up, but I want to run it to you, and then you all can elaborate on it, okay?
Okay.
A director for any entity for government. I want to know if they assign an MP to that department. Do the director got more power than the MP? You can answer when I hang up. I'll probably call you back. To say all of that, when you call and talk to a director trying to explain something to them, and they're going to tell you, I'm not going to try to argue with you and click the phone in your ear. Is that a director? A professional director to hold a position, I would say pretty much high, as almost as a MP, that when you go to them for help, they're going to tell you whatever the director say or do, it is all fine and well. Why do we need to have these people assigned to these departments if they can't come over in our ride? The director, when something is not right in the eyes of the people of this island. Follow me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, caller. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We have two more callers on hold. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, good morning to the leader and deputy leader and to you, OC. I've got 4 questions, but I'll be very brief.
Thank you.
The reason I have 4 questions is because they have been missing for so long, so I've been saving these questions for them. First of all...
Not as long as the government, though.
I like that. I really like that. Okay, what is their view on the Cayman Islands Association matter relating to this Lacey band? In my view, government should ask the association to give some information and some legalities, the rules and so on, to find out what happened. And I think the minister should prepare a cabinet paper for information as well as make a ministerial statement. That's my view, and
you answered the question perfectly. Because we're sitting on the outside, we don't, I without reliable information, without contact with the association, unless the leader has other information, you were absolutely right. That is the way it should happen, and we should hear, if for the public, should hear from the minister or the ministry what their findings were.
Yeah, and what their findings are. Yeah. I know the minister did say, well, he shouldn't interfere in the association, but in my view, that would not be interference. You were just trying to find out what the facts are, just in case government has to change a policy or enact some legislation as part of the corrective measures. So that's my anticipation of that.
Yeah,
but thanks for that. Now,
Caller,
the second one...
Caller, if I might just interject here, I think in the Compass this morning was reported that the minister had actually asked or suggested that it would be appropriate for the board of the CIA to resign. And
or he could withhold funding.
Or he
so
could
that's interference.
So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. I mean, but my view really is whatever. First of all, the minister should not say that by him doing more than just make a statement, he would be interfering. No. This is part of the checks and balances. When you give people money, you want to find out exactly what they are doing with it. I mean, he is Minister of Sport. He's accountable to the people of the Cayman Islands for what is happening in sport. He can't sell himself short. The other one, I'll have to ask too, otherwise it will be too long. The second one is just the last. I'll ask the last one.
Sure, go ahead, Billy.
There's been a decision recently by the Court of Appeal, which basically whose effect is that if you have a spouse and you are living in the Cayman Islands and you are a work permit holder and you are convicted of an offense, they can't declare you a prohibited immigrant if you've got a wife or a spouse, because they'll be violating your right to a family life. They have also said that if you do not meet the number of points at the time you are being rolled over, they still have to consider whether you should stay because of a right to a family life. I want to find out what your view on those are. I'll leave it there. I'll save the other two for another time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Billy. Much appreciated. In terms of you being so considerate. Let's grab another caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
I'm on here.
Yes, you are.
Good morning, leader and deputy leader.
Morning. Morning.
You all know me. Based on the road project, I do agree with it. The Johnson family do agree with it, but yet you guys haven't paid a rectification for the Johnson estates. Because if you're going to do a road project, you guys are going to do the same thing like you did in the Cayman Islands Road project, 1962 to 1986. So then again, the Johnson do get no refund, no nothing, and loses everything based on your guys' decision. This happens every year. This happens every time. When we voted you guys in, we thought you were going to have change, but there's no change. Right now, Sophia Williams refused to give me the rectification for the Johnson estates between John B. Buffalo and McLean, which I already.
This is in East End.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. This was from East End, Little Bluff. Mr. Ezra Miller is doing a quarry on the Johnson estates. There's no problem. He's an ex-politician. What's going on? We need our land back. You guys doing everything, but you're going around the corner. Keep on going around the corner, forgetting the Johnson family. We have our interest there. The road is going through the Johnson land. You guys not come talk to us. You not come say nothing. You going to DOE. DOE don't have nothing on the land registry law. When it comes to instruments within the book, I get information from Lands and Service right now, from FOI Freedom of Information. And basically it's saying it's our land, but yet you guys don't want to deal with it. What's going on? That's my question to the host.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Susan, do we any more callers? No more callers? Okay. We're going to hold the phone lines off for a second there, gentlemen. Lot to digest there. Billy's question, well, I think we covered basically the first one, in relation to the Athletics Association. I would only add to that again, if there were some concerns, if and whether or not our parliamentary process allows, if you wanted to impanel some sort of inquest to determine what happened, whether or not that falls within the purview of our parliament.
Well, I think we do have, quite wide latitude, as a parliament, to to form whatever sort of committees to look at things if we so desire. Mm-hmm, so mm-hmm. I do think that ability is there. I'll question whether the government of the day might want to do that. It is the overriding consideration, I would think. Let me leave it right there.
I just, again, we don't have all the details. Yes. I certainly don't have all the details. I tried keeping up, but trying to find reputable sources for your information is a little, difficult. But I think the whole thing has just been unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it's being played out, if it played out that way over there, over at the games, and it's unfortunate how it's being played out or how it was played out here. Yeah. And what it has done ultimately is detracted from one of the most successful Carifta games we've ever had, and the athletes that all medaled. So much celebrations to be had there. So many goals and track and field I think for the first time ever we've had that level of success, and it's unfortunate that this whole incident has detracted from that, and where the focus should be, and that is on the celebration of these athletes and the celebrations of the achievements of those wearing our colors. So yeah, I think for me that's my views. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the caller mentioned about the Court of Appeal judgment as well. I'm having some difficulty, finding the full judgment unless I subscribe and register on the judicial website to do it. I just want to say, if the caller, and I know that he's, all the way over in Canada, but if he has a full copy of it that he can send to us electronically, that would be helpful as well. So far, I have been unsuccessful in locating it. When we return, our first caller, if my interpretation and my understanding is correct, she's comparing the authority of a public servant, a civil servant, as opposed to a minister.
Yes.
And whether or not a minister, just like the civil servant, they're both bound by the relevant legislation that is in place. The minister doesn't have the authority, unless it is so specified in the legislation, to overrule what's in the law, and the civil servant is obligated to follow the law. Even if the minister were to tell that civil servant, you do this despite what the law says, that civil servant would be certainly within their own right to refuse the order given by the minister to do so. So the whole idea is that everyone is bound by the legislation. The person who has made the legislation, the person who is empowered to enforce the legislation, and most importantly, the individual who is bound by the legislation. If it affects you, if it says that this is what you have to do, then the only way that you go about changing that is to challenge the legitimacy of the legislation.
And if
but our system doesn't allow for individuals to decide, what they're going to do and what they're not going to do.
But if you felt like you were unfairly treated or persons were rude, etc.
Yeah, from an administrative standpoint.
You can go to the Complaints Commission and file your complaint there.
Yes.
And even if you question the law and say, no, I'm entitled to this, you can go to the Complaints Commission on that, and they can have a look at it as well.
Okay. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Hey moms and dads, get the whole family to lace up your shoes and join us for our annual Deputy Governor's 5K Run Walk Challenge. Whether you're a seasoned runner or just looking for a fun, healthy family activity, this event is for you. Join us April 30 in Grand Cayman. Do something good for your body and have fun while supporting our local community. Proceeds benefit Loud Silent Voices, the Cayman Islands Red Cross, and the United Against Bullying Foundation. The DG's 5K could not happen without support from our platinum sponsor, Applebee, and gold sponsors, Butterfield Credit Union, DART, Davenport Development, EY, and our halfway point sponsor, Cynical. $25 for adults and $10 for kids 17 and under. Register at www.racecaribbean.net. Don't miss out on this opportunity to have fun, get fit, and support our community. See you at the start line.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Roy McTaggart, Deputy Leader and Member of Parliament, Mr. Joey Hugh. We have two callers on hold. We're going to make those two callers the last calls because the panelists want to talk about their parliamentary questions that are going to be submitted, that will be submitted to this Parliament as well. So we're going to ask each caller to please be as brief as possible, because if you have a question, you want to get an opportunity to get a reply on it as well. Let's go to the first caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
Good, good. I would like to ask the two honorable gentlemen if they are familiar. Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
If they are familiar with the Johnson Estate saga, because the young man that called in before was talking about the Johnson Estate when he was mentioning that former member of Parliament, Mr. Ezra Miller, would be quarrying or is quarrying in that particular state. Now, this is a very important issue, I think, for the opposition to focus on. I brought a motion in one of 1998 to censor the former minister or member executive council at that time, Mr. John McLean, for the unethical handling of the transfer of Crown land to Mr. Whitmore Sims, because this was part of the Johnson estate, and the motion failed by one vote. That is one of the travesties of the land adjudication process in the Cayman Islands, to deprive many colored people of their property. And it is something that is not solved. It's ongoing. It's an embarrassment to the British government. I had filed a complaint at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in 1998. We don't know where the report is now that came back to the Cayman Islands government, but it's something that is going to resurface very strongly in a very short period of time, because I know I exchanged some notes with somebody in the press recently that was delivered to me from Northwood Prison by somebody who has been researching this case and trying to get justice for this family. It is something that I think that anyone in political office or anyone with a moral conscience would be willing to look into, simply because it's a travesty of justice that a family could be denied for so long of one of the largest estates that existed in the Cayman Islands. I can pinpoint former politicians who got benefits from that land. And I am very surprised by the number of farms in East End, for instance, that is directly connected to this land and located on areas that have been mapped out as part of that Johnston estate.
Doc,
So
has this been adjudicated through the courts yet?
They have tried through the adjudication process. This was sort of overtaken. I will say actually it's one of the most interesting sort of cases and long-going land dispute cases. But because of the land adjudication law, people were not allowed to overturn the decisions that were made by the court. But many of the decisions made by the court were based upon false claims of property that were already passed on through wills and accepted by the government at the time before the adjudication law as being belonging to those individuals. But these people are not getting any help with this from the government. They're not getting any help from the court. Their claims are being stifled simply because it will raise a issue that nobody really wants to deal with. And I'm just appealing to the opposition to be of the opinion that whether or not some people will be inconvenient or not, the rights of these poor families that got an inheritance that has been taken away from them is incredible. I'm now dealing with a case of a Jamaican domestic who served somebody who was given in the lease the absolute right to the dwelling house there on Smith on Red Gate, that the foster group is now purchasing, and they're purchasing from the JNB Bank. And it's all a whole lot of fraud involved in it, and the court continues to cover up these things. Now, I'm doing a thing...
Doc, we don't have time to get into the specifics. If we can just restrict you to the Johnson one for now, because we do have another caller on hold, and we have about 4 minutes before we go to our break.
That there are many legal issues in this country that relates to people that are poor, that have no access to justice in this country. And this should be a concern of the opposition as well as a concern of the government. And people need to stop stifling the rights of the poor people through the court system and the legal system and the legal fraternity, and they're all binding together to make sure that nothing happens that will make other people uncomfortable when the poor people are uncomfortable because they do not have the right to their property.
Got you. We'll have them respond to that. Let's grab the last caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Mr. Connor?
Good morning, sir. Go right ahead.
Good morning, and good morning to you two guests, the leader and the deputy leader.
Morning,
just a quick question, and I can then wait for your opinion later. I'm wondering if they could have a strong look, as Parliament is about to convene, but have a strong look at the data protection law or the Data Protection Act, and also the role of the Ombudsman. I say that as a preamble to what I'm going to ask now. I am being subjected by a certain person who has either a strong infatuation with me as a person, or who is endeavoring very hard to inflict personal damage on my name, which by transition would then inflict damage on my growing business consultancy and immigration company. She has a CMR. She's
prefer you not to call names, caller, or of entities.
Breaking the Data Protection Act. And I'm wondering, my question is to the two gentlemen, could they take a strong look at the Data Protection Act and the role of the Ombudsman to see whether in certain cases where there's a total breach of the Data Protection Act going on, whether the ombudsman could not have the authority like a judge to issue an immediate injunction for the airing of such malicious and untruthful and vile broadcasting of is really not even information. It's really lies and
Caller, have you contacted the office of the ombudsman to determine the extent of their scope, their authority, to see whether or not they can address the issue?
Yes, I have filed an official complaint, but that takes that's a form that you got to fill out and send, and then they take their sweet time. I'm wondering whether the law could be strengthened and clarified, where the ombudsman could be given immediate authority, like a judge, to come down, even if the show is going on at the time that the ombudsman.
But even with the judicial system, you have to hear the evidence first before you can make a decision. You can't just make a decision.
In this case, this person has a practice of going off with no evidence and just rumor. And for example, what happened yesterday?
No, caller, we're not going to get into details. You've given your pose your question. We're going to leave it at that, for now. And if our panelists want to respond to it, we will have them respond as far as the legislation and the powers of the Office of the Ombudsman is concerned. Thank you very much for that. We're going to take our last commercial break. Phone lines are closed off because we want to give our panelists here an opportunity to talk about parliamentary questions as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. No one can stop me when I taste the classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Ensuring your existing appliances and equipment are cleaned and maintained regularly is an easy way to improve energy efficiency in your home.
Have your air conditioning equipment serviced by a professional. Make sure bathroom and kitchen exhaust fans and refrigerator coils are cleaned regularly, because the harder your appliances have to work, the higher your bills will be.
The do-it-yourself energy audits on energy.gov.ky make it easy to find ways to save energy and money in your home or business.
Complete an energy audit of your home or business before 31st of May 2023 to be entered into a prize giveaway. Prizes include a $5,000 gift certificate to Home Gas and gift certificates to Cooling Pros, Foam Pros, Costyless, and Foster's.
To learn more, visit energy.gov.ky today and follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses are among the top causes of death in Cayman every year. From June 3rd until July 31st, the Ministry of Health and Wellness will conduct the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey to better understand the prevalence of non-communicable diseases within our nation. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps to learn more.
The Department of Agriculture would like to inform the public that animal-related import-export services contact hours have changed. For all animal-related travel inquiries, permit application process, and in-person visitations, visit doa.gov.ky or their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman to view the new hours. Call 947-3090 for more information.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning, gentlemen. The two issues One mention of the Johnson estate, and the other one in relation to the Office of the Ombudsman, the whole issue of data protection and whether or not a closer look needs to be taken at that legislation to give the director their more immediate powers to act more immediately on issues.
Well, certainly give my perspective on the Johnson estate matter. What I can say is that I am aware that there is an issue, issues there. It appears to me that isn't something that has been going on for many decades, and certainly does not appear to have been resolved at this point with the family, and it clearly seems to be an ongoing situation. Beyond that, I really don't know. I don't know all the details, or much of the details, with regard to what it is all about, with regard to this taking of land, and being taken away from the estate, being taken away from the family. So it's something I'm going to have to look into and try to understand more what the issues are, what the remaining unresolved issues are with regard to the property. Mm-hmm. But in any event, I mean, if there was, a need for it to be litigated further, and the family doesn't have the resources, I mean, it certainly strikes me that they could seek to get legal aid to assist in that process, if that is one of the big issues. But it's something I'm going to have to look into.
Okay.
No, I am a little aware of it as well. The young man that called in, I had in-depth conversations with him in the past over it. I did have conversations with the Attorney General on the route that would be needed to take, that would need to be taken. And as we said, this is something that's been from decades, from as Dr. McField gave us a good history lesson on it. And so, yeah, I think if there is a way that the family could come together, and if funding is needed, then perhaps that's something that the government could look at, to perhaps put a committee together to look at whether there is justification for that funding, and then require or request that funding be given to them to seek judicial review. But not, again, I think it's we're talking about huge lots of land, yes, and lots of family members as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Want to talk about the PQs?
Yeah. We have, at the moment, I think about 14 parliamentary questions that we've filed so far. They range from education. I think we have a couple from MP Barbara Connolly inquiring with the Minister of Education on a policy paper published by the Ministry at the end of last year titled a response to educational institutions that receive a weak inspection judgment, and what have been the results of that. She also asked the Honourable Member tell the House how many teacher assistants were employed and working in classrooms in the government schools by the end of the last school term. And a third one, asking the Honourable Minister to inform the House whether the Minister intends to make any changes in the governance arrangements for Cayman public schools. So those are from MP Barbara Connolly. And a final one, is the Honourable Minister satisfied with the quality of teaching in Cayman public schools? And so that's from MP Barbara Connolly, who is the shadow minister on the opposition side for the Minister of Education. You want to do yours?
And then OC, I've got, I think, 2 questions standing in my name that have been submitted. And the first one really is about the ongoing saga with the Regen project and the financial close of it, because it has it has gone even beyond what the time period that the Premier himself gave as an indication of when he expected the financial close to take place.
And I think he issued a release addressing some of the what was deemed, I forget, I don't want to use the wrong word, but some of the misinformation about the Regen project. I think I saw a press release in that regard.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I must have missed it.
I was surprised that he offered no comments on the massive article that the Compass did.
Yeah, and then the second question that I have concerns the tourism strategy that the Minister for Tourism had commissioned in September 2022 that he announced would be taking place. 6 months later, we haven't seen or heard anything with regard to whether the strategy has been completed and accepted by the cabinet. Just looking for more information, because we had advocated quite strongly for one to be done, particularly since we're coming out of COVID. We thought it was a good opportunity then for the country to engage in public discussion and develop a strategy with a view to deciding what did we want the face of cruise tourism to look like going forward. And nothing really happened there, and we just went back to doing things the same old way. But we see now too the issues with regard to the fact that the cruise number of cruise ship passengers and cruise companies visiting the island is down substantially, and that has knock-on implications as well. So to me, it's important what the minister is doing. So we want to find out where it's at and when can we expect it to be released.
Okay.
Yep. Then I have four parliamentary questions and standing in my name, and the first was to the Honourable Minister for Health and Wellness, asking her whether the ministry can advise whether any improvements have been made to the management of the Georgetown landfill, including compacting and covering the waste material, and whether DEH is continuing to regularly douse the landfill with water in an effort to prevent fires. Again, we've been asking this question each time. We've seen statements in the press that the necessary equipment, even though last year the Premier was sure to tell us that in a statement in the House that the landfill was being managed properly, etc., etc. Only now, after to find out that, and at the end of his statement, that the necessary equipment to do so, to do the compacting and the layering, etc., it was ordered, and I think it should have been here this month.
Okay.
So we're just trying to seek an update on that. And the second part of it is that, I am getting complaints in my neighborhood, in the neighborhoods along the 7 Mile corridor, when they see the grey slush that's, and there's been pictures being circulated, the grey slush that's coming through the culverts from the dikes near the landfill. And it is thought that is coming from the pumping of water onto the landfill in order to keep the fires at bay. And so, there's a lot of the wildlife in that area has disappeared. The nesting coots and stuff that we used to see there, they can't actually swim in the water because there's this thick grey sludge. And so we're just, looking for some updates on that. My next question is to the Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure, whose ministry continues to grow. Fairly soon it'll just be him and the Premier as minister if their ministries continue to grow. Can the minister state, A, what is the process for determining how applications for affordable homes are handled? And B, what are the number of National Housing Development Trust affordable homes currently available in each district? And C, the number of NHDT affordable homes currently under construction or planned in each district for completion over the next 2 years. And again, we've been consistent in questioning what's happening for Georgetown. We're dealing with the traffic from the eastern districts. Are we still just going to keep pushing people out there? Are we looking to do it in Georgetown? And again, as I said, we talked about, some people want to live in the district that they grew up in. That's their home, The next question is to the same minister, Minister J.E. Banks. Can the minister update the House on the number and value of homes obtained under the mortgage scheme with the Cayman Islands Development Bank announced by the government and the CIDB last July? My final one is for the Honourable Minister J.E. Banks again. Can the minister update the House on the progress with the government's proposed undersea telecom cable, as well as an update on any other subsea telecoms cables proposed by the private sector entities? Again, remember, this was a massive project that was a priority of our government, and it was continued on by this government. We heard a lot of noise around it. I know that plans were well in advance, and again, funding last year was allocated towards it. But one of these things, we haven't heard anything since. So the next one, do you want to do David's?
Let me get them here.
Or I can go ahead.
Go ahead.
MP White, Georgetown West. For Minister J.E. Banks again, can the minister state when the Deloitte report with the recommendations on public transportation will be made public, along with the terms of reference that form the basis of the report? So again, that went from Minister Bryan to Minister E. Banks. Yes. It's all gone quiet. We haven't heard a word, so we're just trying to follow up on that. Also, the MP David White is also asking the Premier and Minister for Sustainability, Finance and Economic Development, can the Premier and the Minister responsible for Finance update the House on when the government will be making the reductions to stamp duty contained in private member motion number 4/2021-2022 that provided for increased assistance for Caymanian home buyers, brought by myself and the member for Georgetown South and passed unanimously by the House in June 2022. This is, we know so many people have been waiting on this OC. This could have helped hundreds and hundreds of Caymanian homeowners over the last almost a year now since this motion was passed. And I did see in one of a former minister's comments how many waivers he did through his ministry, and that's fantastic. But that's not the way it should happen. It shouldn't just happen for those who get that lucky or have the wherewithal or the access. It should happen for everyone, right? And those are, and the last one to the Minister of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage. Can the Minister advise the House on the facts regarding the controversy of the 2023 Carifta Games involving Miss Lacey Barnes-Riley? And those are, and he has one more. Oh, David's on fire. For the Honourable Minister for Financial Services and Commerce, elected member for West Bay South, can the Minister update the House on the number of projects and funds spent in each electoral constituency from May 1st, 2021 through April 1st, 2023? So this is for the home repairs, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we have seen in some instances where ministers are able to provide you with answers at that particular meeting. But we've seen with all administrations where an undertaking is given to provide written responses later on. How
most have
punctual are they with that?
Most have provided. Some were prompted by the deputy clerk, reminding them of the standing orders. And most were provided. I am still waiting for 3, but I do know that minister was in transition of chief officers, and I've been promised that he will update me on those 3 at the sitting of the House. So
okay, you still had one more.
We've forgotten Sir Alden, and he does have a few here. So I would just go ahead, all relating to, I think, his constituency. He asked a question for the minister to the housing and planning minister for planning, agriculture, housing, infrastructure, to asking for an update on the progress of the Eddie Sanchez Memorial Park in Red Bay Prospect. He also has one and advise on the status regarding the completion of Seafarers Park on Seafarers Way in Georgetown. And third one, asking the Minister for Financial Services to provide an update on the government's progress in starting up the overseas offices in Brussels, Washington, and Asia. And final one here for the Minister to update Parliament as to when the mental health facility will be completed and operational. That's being asked of the Minister for Health.
Okay, gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much. Apologies for the abbreviated discussion this morning, but and I want to thank you for ceding some of your time to Hazard Management Cayman and the folks from the National Hurricane Center in the United States as well. Thank you all very much.
Very important subject. So
yes,
yeah, absolutely.
So, folks, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Dwayne Ebanks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency. Visit energy.gov.ky or follow the National Energy Policy on Facebook and Instagram. And by the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Visit gov.ky/steps to learn more.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest